What's up, guys, and today we're going to be doing another The Greatness of video, and today we're going to be doing the Berserk manga. Now, notice how I say the Berserk manga, and I emphasize the manga. Do not watch the Berserk anime. If you watch like the 1998 one, okay, fair game, that one's okay. But if you watch the 2016 one and don't give the manga a shot, please, just give the manga a shot. It's just so much better than the anime. I definitely suggest reading it than watching it. And also, I'm going to be explaining a little bit of how the difference is from a review from The Greatness of, because I feel like that's kind of similar, but I might make a review and The Greatness of video on the same kind of manga or anime. I might make one on the same one. The Greatness of video is explaining why it's so good, and I'm only going to make those videos for the things that I think deserve it, and then the reviews are going to be more in-depth. So I might just be like making The Greatness of Berserk, but I'm only going to be talking about why it's so great, while in the reviews, if I do make a Berserk one, which I probably will later on if I reread it, which I definitely will, the review would be more in-depth about the story. So that's going to be the difference between the two. I already have two set up this week, and I have a review for next week I'm planning on doing, so stay tuned, and let's just get straight into the video. See you there. Well, what makes Berserk so great? Well, Berserk, I'm going to give a little synopsis of Berserk, which is kind of a hard thing to do, purely because Berserk is a very unique story and doesn't really follow many major tropes and cliches, and the story is very articulate, so I'm not going to be trying to spoil this. There might be a slight spoilers, but not enough to actually make someone not be able to read it. So I'm definitely going to say it's definitely not that spoiler-filled, but it's just a short synopsis. So basically, I'm going to give a pre-eclipse kind of synopsis and post-eclipse synopsis in one. If you've read Berserk, then you know what I'm talking about, but I'm just going to do this right here. So pre-eclipse, we meet our main character, Guts, who is very much an underdog in everything he does. Guts is, no matter what, he's always strong, but the thing is about him, he always has to overcome these struggles. Like, he has to deal with sexual assault, many things, getting beat by his parents. His actual biological mom was actually killed when he was born. She was hung on a tree, and he was born out of a dead body. Guts was legit named after his dead mom's guts. That's what we have to assume his name comes from, because why would they name their son Guts? That's he is a very underdog character, even though you might think of Guts and see this guy and be like, how is this guy the underdog? He is always given the terrible hand, and because of this, he doesn't gain trust with people. He actually has difficulty trusting people until he meets Griffith with the Band of the Hawk. Then he starts trusting people like Casca, Pippin, Griffith, etc., until something happens and the eclipse happens, which makes it so he loses trust in people again, and he has to try to avenge the people that have fallen and try to help the people who have survived the eclipse. And during that, he has to go through very many struggles and trying to develop again to trust people. And how that happens is he meets new people that were foes and now are friendly people and friends with him and are in his group, or maybe a kid who he didn't think he is anything, and now he has to rely on this kid, or even a random fairy he met along the way. Guts has now learned from this group his trust again. He develops back as a character, learns himself again, and it's such a great story to see this character go from hardships and hardships and hardships to where he is now. Yes, he's still going through these hardships, and yes, no matter what, Guts will be going through these hardships even till the end. But the thing is, as he progresses, you get to see Guts even put on smiles sometimes, which is very unlike early on Guts. So seeing this is a very good breath of fresh air. Also, I'm going to show some panels. The art is amazing in this series. If you've not ever looked at Berserk, this is some next level art. And this is the beginning art, and it keeps slowly, progressively getting better as the story progresses. And basically, it starts off with him post-eclipse. It's kind of a weird transition on how they do the first couple volumes. It starts off post-eclipse and then goes into the Golden Age arc, which is his backstory, and then goes back into where he left off in the eclipse part. So it's a pretty interesting kind of way how they did it and how they transitioned it through things. And how they did this story is very articulate. There's very many minuscule things that matter, like Behlechts, I think that's how you say it, when Guts first sees it in like one of the first volumes, and then you figure out what it is like 10 to 15 volumes later. It's very important, and it's very it's constructed in a way that makes it so interesting to read. And the world itself is something that isn't really explored and like isn't really like the other fantasy worlds, I should say. The world is it's just very one-sided towards the monsters, where the monsters are very actually grim looking. They're not like random things that don't look bad. Like, if I can try to find a monster, I can kind of show you, but it might take me a little bit, so I'm just going to transition into when I find one. Okay, well, I found 2 panels in this one volume. It took me a couple minutes to find it, but here's one panel of the monsters, which are actually grim looking and scary looking compared to regular fantasy stories, to the point where you actually might get scared from some of these monsters. And they actually do have such a realistic art style from Kentaro Miura that it can kind of just be like, whoa, like, how is someone this talented? Where the art is so unique because it's so realistic that I think that's why the 2016 anime flopped, because the art is so good that it basically needs to be a live action, and the live action of this still probably wouldn't be that great, purely off the proportions of things. Like, Guts' sword is like 30 times his size, which is shown in one of these. It's literally like twice Guts' size. I think I can find this one pretty easily, because I think I remember finding this earlier. I think it's in this chapter, if I do believe. But yeah, it's literally like way bigger than him, and then it randomly goes on his back, and it's just the size, the normal size. So it's kind of weird, but like, it works, if you know what I mean. Okay, give me 1 second. Okay, I found it now. Where Guts' sword is here, and this is Guts. You can just see the size difference in between him and the sword, which makes it so weird and proportionally unrealistic, yes, but it makes sense because you just see how much Guts struggles and how much Guts actually, everything he goes through, and how strong he gets throughout this. And I think the proportional size for the sword's like 500 pounds, so that's definitely unrealistic, but it's definitely a very cool thing to even see someone wielding a sword, even that big as a protagonist. The only person you really see with a sword that big is probably Cloud from Final Fantasy, but I'm going to go back onto Berserk because it's so great. But basically, with Guts, you just see his development through the story, how it progresses, how he progresses as a character, and that's what really helps make Berserk such a great story, is because the protagonist and the antagonist post-eclipse, I'm not going to say the antagonist is because that's a spoiler, but they both progress as characters in very opposite ways, where one is actually just trying to gain power, not caring, he's selfish, while the other one's starting to become more selfless and trying to, Guts is the one that's becoming more selfless. He's becoming more selfless and caring for others that he wouldn't actually do earlier on, other than a couple people he would actually trust. Since he's gone through so much with having to deal with people, it's kind of hard for Guts to actually go through all this. But he still learns a way to actually meet these people and actually interact with them better than who he used to be. How he used to be and how he used to not trust them, how he used to just give them all the crap in the world. But now he actually relies on these people and can trust these people in fights, which is something that's such a great kind of twist on a character that doesn't just happen over like a chapter like this. It happens over a long span of like 10 or 20 volumes, which is such a breath of fresh air. Seeing this story like progress is so great, because you don't see these stories like this long, like 40 volumes. You don't see them always progress like this. If you look at Naruto, yes, he progressed, but he didn't progress as much as Guts. If you look at Bleach, Ichigo did progress, but not as much as Guts. So you see what I mean? If you look at One Piece, you can say that for Luffy, but Luffy is actually a very interesting character, and I might make a video on him alone, because Luffy is a very interesting character, which you probably wouldn't think he is, because you probably just think he's a dumb protagonist, but he does things in a way that he can be dumb, but he's also a very smart person. If you actually look deep into the philosophies of Luffy, it's not just that. I'm gonna get back on Berserk. I'm sorry, if you know me, I always say this in every video where I ramble. I ramble a lot, so you gotta get used to it. But yeah, basically, it's just something that doesn't get aired out in many series, but in Berserk, they air it out with character development that is unmatched by anything. Character development in this series is literally something that no other manga can really live up to. The only character that's near this kind of character development, I know this might sound like ironic, but it's probably Usopp. Usopp is a very developed character in One Piece, but like, I still don't think he's near the level of Berserk character development, and I don't think many characters can really say that they developed nearly as much as Guts. And I think that that's what helps make this such an interesting and great read. And not just the character development, the world that helps the characters develop, it actually makes the characters closer together purely off how they have to struggle together. It's not just a random fight for everyone. It's a struggle for all the main cast to try to survive and try to protect each other while they're going through these hardships. So that's why I think Berserk is so good. And that's why I give this series probably a solid, like, 9.5 to 10 out of 10. And the only reason I say 9.5 is because, you know, the hiatus by Kentaro Miura. It can take, like, 2 years per volume, and I don't really like that. So that's probably the only reason I'd give it a knock, is because the hiatuses, kind of like Hunter x Hunter. I give that series a knock because of the hiatuses. But I also think the anime is better than the manga, purely off the art style. I think Yoshiro Togashi kind of, like, fell off with his art after Yu Yu Hakusho, but it makes sense. He's sick, so I'm not roasting it, but yeah. But Berserk, even after the hiatuses, it still gets better and better and better. Now, I might say the Golden Age arc is probably the best arc. Those can say the Conviction arc is also probably one of the best arcs, or if so, the best arc. So I would say that and the Golden Age arc are really good. I also do like the most recent arc, and the one before the Elf Island arc, but the what's it called? Like the ocean arc, like the one where they're on the sea. I really do like that arc as well, but I'm probably one of the only people that do. So it's a really good arc, but like it's nowhere near Berserk level. But I really did think it was on that tier, but other people don't think it is. But I'm just not gonna get too far into that before I get any hate comments about, oh, this arc is the best arc, you can't say anything. Like, I get it. I will say, though, the Golden Age arc is probably the most well-constructed arc in all of manga. I think that arc is super well put together, so I'm not going to say anything else about that. I think this series is probably one of the best manga series of all time. Just the only thing is the hiatuses. So, yes, I'm going to put this out to the outro, but if you want to get Berserk, I do also suggest getting the deluxe editions, because I got the singles, all with the same spines, which is also very hard to get, like I said, for Love Hina. It's kind of hard to get all the same spines for Berserk, but I got all these spines, and they're probably my favorite spines, so I really do enjoy these more. But it's probably going to be way easier to get the deluxes than this, because these can just be, like, super hard to find sometimes and out of stock everywhere, but the deluxe editions are pretty well in stock, and they're pretty well, like, printed and everything. I'm probably going to get the deluxe editions on top of these, but I do not fully know yet, since I do have a lot of room now, but I don't want to waste all my room on series I already have. So I don't know if I'm gonna soon or not, but I do suggest getting the deluxes other than the singles. I do think the singles are probably my pride and joy in my collection now. So yeah, I'm just gonna send it to the outro, and I hope I see you guys later. Well, that was it for this video. If you liked it, please like and subscribe. And yeah, that was the greatness of Berserk. I hope you guys just will stick around, because if you follow me on the socials, then you know that I'm going to be posting my schedule for like each week's uploads on my Instagram, and I might do it my Twitter as well, but mostly going to do it on my Instagrams every Sunday, because I have the next couple of weeks already have their thumbnails, so I'm just going to have my post schedule with the thumbnails on my Instagram. So if you want, please follow those as well. They'll be in the links in the description. I hope I see you guys next time. Peace!